Okay, so let's start getting more detail about how to build your resume, and you can start building these things as you go through the course and building out your customized resume for you. This is a resume for you. So let's start with some outstanding resume. If you're going to have an outstanding resume, what are some of the core concepts behind that? And these are like the must-haves. You must get this stuff right. You almost think of this as kind of basic a little bit, but it's so often I see so many resumes that are poorly done that don't even cover these must-haves, or certainly don't write in a really good, compelling way. So I think this is a checklist or some tips and some things to go through as far as these core concepts and must-haves. And this lesson, what we're going to talk about is resume types, or the formatting of the resume. You want to have consistent formatting of your resume. And I tell you, I've seen resumes that are just all over the place. I can't scan them easy, and I'm like, forget you. Unless something really stands out, like, nah, you can't even put a resume together. How can you work for me, right? So they're very sample, consistent formatting types. One is chronological. It's chronological, functional, and hybrid are really the three main types. Chronological is like your work experience, and everything's kind of ordered in a reverse chronological order. Your most recent work experience at the top, for example, and then past work experience, and so on. Your most recent education, your most advanced degree, for example, and then after that, in that, as far as kind of this chronological way. Another way that you've seen resumes, I don't love this way, but a lot of people will do it where it's more functional or skill-oriented, where they don't list their jobs or their work experience at all, really. They're listing their skill, like let's say they've got a leadership skill, and talk about their team building. I'm really great at team building, and they'll put like team building, and then they'll list their jobs, and then they'll talk about like, okay, and I did this, built this team at this company this way, and then at this company I built it this way. And I don't like it because it's confusing to me. I want to look more at that work history thing. That's how most employers are. But for folks who maybe don't have a strong work history, but they've got great skills, they like to do it that way to emphasize skills. So that is a way you can do it too. Actually, what I like, and I think works well, and I would recommend, definitely would recommend, is a hybrid of the two, chronological and the functional or skill-oriented one, where it's kind of combined together. And if you've looked at resumes, your resume already be set up this way, but if you look at a lot of resume examples, this is what you're seeing, where it's chronological, and that reverse, most recent to less recent, chronologically. And then underneath each thing, you have those functional things, or those skills or accomplishments that you have underneath each one. So you might say in your work history, currently employed at ABC company, and in your title as whatever, digital marketing manager. And then it might talk about, develop this campaign. I have these skills with, MailChimp, or, email marketing, or Twitter marketing, or social media marketing, whatever it might be, website development, whatever it might be underneath that. So I look at the job, I see your title, and I see what you've done and accomplished. Then I go to the next one, I can see that, and so on as a hiring manager. Here's an example of that, that hybrid resume example. For a product manager, for example, and why this is so, I think this works so well, right? They're a product manager. It shows that they work for the City Tech company with their location, and they're currently employed because it says to present and how long they've been there. And then it shows some things they've done. They've coordinated teams. They managed a budget of $7.4 million. Hey, they exceeded their sales quota by 74% after their first year. Well, that really stands out. And you can see how they've taken those skills or accomplishments and grouped it underneath that job title where they're currently employed. And then they go to the next one where it says Assistant Product Manager at Chesapeake Bay Infotech. And it talks the same thing, negotiate contracts, 4.7% reduction in expenses, and so on. So I can kind of see their job progression. They went from assistant product manager to now a full product manager position. Looks like they made that change. Now, maybe they're now looking to come to my company and become the director of product management, or maybe a similar product manager position. And I get a feel just by looking at that quickly as a hiring manager or a screener, who you are and some of your accomplishments, versus trying to find it from a skill-based resume, or just listing your jobs and things and titles in a chronological manner without elaborating on them. That doesn't do really anything for me either. So the hybrid form, I think, is the best form, but use what works best for you. You can feel free to try different things, but you probably saw how I walked through that. And remember those core concepts that a resume needs to be easy to scan, easy to understand. You see in that hybrid format where it's easy for me to understand your work history, your work progression, companies you work for, and those skills and accomplishments you've had, those measurable results, all in those buckets like that. That worked so well for me, and that's what I'm used to looking at, what most people are. So I would definitely recommend the hybrid one, but if you feel, maybe for your particular industry, a skill-based one is better, feel free. There's no hard and fast rule. The whole key is you want to get to that next step, which is an interview. And so you want to design your resume to help you do that. So now let's look at some more details around, creating that outstanding resume.